Hello everyone, and welcome to the NEATEC Electronics Series. This episode will concentrate on gain, so let's get started. Alright everyone, so let's talk about gain. What is gain? Well, gain is simply your output divided by your input. That's really all what gain is. And there are three types. The first type is when your output is greater than your input, you have amplification. Alright, so obviously if we have one where the signal increases in size, that's amplification. We're going to have one where your signal decreases, right? So that's when your output is less than your input. And that's termed attenuation, right? And then the third one, we take a guess at it. We will have one where output's greater than your input. We have one where output is less than your input. There's only one other possibility, right? It's when your output equals your input. And that's unity gain. That basically is a gain of 1. All right? So when we talk about gain, this is really what we're talking about. And it is a unitless number. All right? There are no units associated with it. Now, symbol for gain is this. It's a triangle lying on its side pointing to the right. All right? Now, in an equation, for an equation, they usually use the letter A. And if you have AV, this stands for voltage gain. If you have something like this, which is AP, all right, this stands for power gain. All right? So that basically is our understanding of gain right now, right? Okay, how is gain used? All right? Well, we generally use it, and we have a unit for it. We generally express it in decibels, right? So what is a decibel? All right, so it depends. It depends on what kind of gain you're referring to. By the way, generally these are termed as simple gain. Output over input gives you a value, and that is the simple gain. Okay, that's important to know based on how these equations are written. So let's do the first one. Your gain for power in decibels is going to equal 10 log AP. And this AP right here is the same as this one right here. Okay? This is your simple gain. Now, V stands for voltage in decibels, is going to equal 20 log AV. And this AV is the simple gain, and it's the same as this one right here that we just talked about. All right? So usually you're given one of these, or you have to be given one of these, and you have to convert to the other. So let's go through some examples of how you would use this. Alright, so let's try this. Let's do a case 1. Okay? So case 1. Alright, what is case 1? This is when you're going to be given the simple gain you're going to be given that value, and you must determine the gain in dB. Alright? So let's do this. Let's just have an example. Suppose you have one where you have your power. This is an example here, right? Your power, you're given the power, right? Remember there's two equations, one's in power, one's in voltage. The only difference is the power, you multiply your log expression by 10, and the voltage you multiply it times 20. So if we say power out over power in equals 250, right? So what are we saying there? Basically we're saying then is AP, the simple gain, is equal to 250, right? Well then let's look at the expression for power. We said here that A, the gain in power in dB, is going to be equal to 10 log AP, right? Well, you're given this simple gain, right? So let's just plug it in. Your gain of power in decibels is going to be equal to 10 log 250, right? Let's bring up the calculator here. Here's your calculator, and we have to take the log of 250. So let's see how we do that. Every calculator now is different. You need to practice this on the calculator you own, right? So if I press log, it says invalid input, right? In other words, I'm going to have to put in the expression first, or that value first. So let's try this. 250 log. That gives you the log of 250. So in other words, we have this value right here now. That's what we calculate. Now what do we have to do? Now we have to multiply it by 10, don't we? So we'll take this, multiply it times 10, and we have 23.97, which is approximately 24, right? So if we come down here, we're going to say A, the gain of your power in dB, is going to equal approximately 24 decibels. There you go. You just solved one problem where they gave you the simple gain, in the power gain obviously, and you converted it to decibel. Let's try another one. All right. Okay. This one, suppose we're going to do voltage, right? Suppose they give you a voltage where they say V out. When I say they, I'm referring to the textbook, by the way, or you're working on a project and you have a customer that is giving you this value. All right, so that's what I mean when I say they. So let's just use this term. Let's say V out divided by V in is going to equal 0.707. Okay, at this point, why don't you pause the video, give it a go, and then turn it back on and we'll solve it. All right, everyone, welcome back. Let's give this one a go here. So what are we saying here? Your V out over Vn is equal to 0.707. So what we're saying now is your simple gain, voltage gain actually, is equal to 0.707. Let's rewrite it, shall we? So we're saying AV, your voltage gain in decibels, is going to equal 20 log your simple gain, which is AV, right? Now you're given this value, right? So AV in decibels is going to equal 20 log 0.707. Okay, so let's bring up the calculator and give it a try, all right? So let's clear this out from the earlier one. Get rid of the history. And we're going to say 0.707. We're going to take the log of that. There's the log of it, right? Now, we're going to take that value and we're going to multiply it times 20. Times 20 equals minus 3.0116. So it's roughly minus 3 decibels. Well, that's exactly what we're saying. That's what the result is. So the gain in decibels is equal to minus 3 dB. I think this pretty much shows how you use this. When you are given the simple gain, either it's voltage or power, you can simply put it in one of these equations. Obviously, this is for voltage. For the power, instead of 20, you use 10. You can put it in that equation and calculate your decibel gain. Alright, so next we're going to work on the problem where if you're given the decibel gain, how do you calculate the simple gain? That's going to be case 2. Alright, so let's talk about case 2. Now, basically, case 2 is very similar to case 1, except you're given the other variable, right? So this is basically determine the simple gain when given the gain in dB. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, let's think about this, right? What's the equation? Let's look at the voltage gain, right? If we just look at the equation for it, we're going to see that the gain, AV, remember V, this stands for voltage. Voltage, spell that, but that's voltage. Now, in dB is equal to 20 log AV. Now, this AV here, this is basically your simple gain. All right? So, remember, this side of the equation is your gain, but it's in decibels. That's the difference. This gain is your simple gain, all right? It's what we talked about earlier. It's your output over your input, right? And 20 is your multiplication factor. Or if we're talking about power, this would be 10, right? Okay, so I'm sorry about this. This actually, let me just write that for you to make sure you have this correct. This actually is A, B, all right? So this is simple gain, and that's the V stands for voltage, right? And this is your gain in decibels. All right, so let's try a problem, shall we? That's a good way to learn this, I think. So, what we had earlier, which you just did basically, is if you're given a gain in decibels, let's just say you're given a gain of -3 decibels. That equals, since we're talking voltage, right? Let me just put voltage down here just to make sure everyone remembers that. That's equal to AV. I mean, it's equal to what AV? What is that equal to, right? So let's come over here and simply write down the equation, right? AV in decibels is equal to 20 log AV, right? Now, we're given this part right here, right? This part, this is what we're given. We're saying this is -3 dB equals 20 log AV. Now, how do you solve for that one? Now, for what we're talking about, this is the basic steps you need to take. First off, you divide both sides. Since we have 20 here, you're going to divide both sides by 20 because you're going to want to get this part right here. You want to get that alone on the side of the equal sign. You don't want anything else there. So you got to get rid of the 20, right? So let's just write this again. Here's your -3 dB equals 20 log AV, right? We're going to divide both sides by 20. Now you have 20 over 20 here, right? By the way, remember, if you divide both sides of the equal sign by the same number, you haven't changed anything. So we haven't changed anything here, really. But this part right here, you have 20 over 20. What's that going to do? It's going to go to 1, isn't it? Now, -3 over 20. Well, let's just get out our calculator here, shall we? So, where's the clear button? Isn't there a clear button here? Oh, there it is. So we're going to have 3 divided by 20 equals. Now, remember, it's negative, so it's -0.15, all right? So this is going to equal -0.15, all right, is going to be equal to log AV. Got it? Now, sorry, forgot the dB there. Now, at this point, what you need to do is you need to raise both sides to the power of 10, right? So 10 to the -0.15 is going to equal 10 to the log AV, which is equal to AV. Do you notice? You've probably heard this before. A log is an exponent. So what this is actually saying is what we wrote here. Since this is log base 10, 10 to this value equals what's in your parentheses. That's exactly what we wrote here, okay? So what's 10 to the -0.15, right? Well, let's clear this. Oh, we got it right there. We have that in there. We want to do what now? We want to say 10 to the x, right? It's equal to 0.707, right? So 0.707 is equal to AV, which is your simple gain, right? There's your answer. And if you recall, last time you were given 0.07 and you were asked to determine the gain in dB, and you figured that out, it was -3. Well, now you just went in reverse. All right, so let's do another one, and you're going to do this one. We'll do this one as a problem here, right? There we go. Let me get this one thing out here too, just be neat. All right, so let's try another one. Let's just do let's just double it. Minus 6 dB equals AV. We don't know what that is, so let's figure that one out. So why don't you pause the video at this time and then give it a go, and then turn it on, and we'll solve it together. All right, welcome back. So let's give it a go, shall we? First thing we do, let's write down the equation. All right, so we have AV in decibels is going to be equal to 20 log AV. And your AV here is simple gain, right? So we are given this part right here, aren't we? This part we're given in this case. So let's replace it. Minus 6 dB equals 20 log your simple gain, AV, right? So what are we going to do next, right? We have to get log AV alone on the side of the on the right side of the equal sign. So we have to get rid of this 20. How do we do that? We divide both sides by 20. Both sides of the equal sign by 20. So let's rewrite it. Minus 6 dB divided by 20 equals 20 log AV divided by 20. This quotient here turns to 1. That's a 1. This one right here, let's just rewrite it, shall we? It's going to equal to minus 0.3 dB is equal to log AV. If you recall, minus 3 was 0.15, so minus 6 is just going to be double that. That's why I knew it was 0.3. You can also use your calculator here, right? We can just clear it. We can take 6 divided by 20. It's equal to 0.3, all right? We have to remember to bring the negative sign down with it. So now we want to find out what's going on with AV. We have to get AV. How do we do that? We raise each side to the power of 10. So 10 to the minus 0.3, that's a 3 there, is going to be equal to AV. I didn't write 10 to the log AV. I guess I could if you would, if that would help you. Let's do it. Why not? Keep things consistent, right? The consistency is always good. It's going to equal to 10 to the log AV, which is equal to AV, right? So what's 10 to the 0.3 here? Let's solve that. Oh, 10, we're going to make it a negative, so it's negative 0.3, and 10 to the x, it's equal to 0.5, isn't it? So when we solve this, we're saying 0.5 is equal to AV. And there's your answer. There's your simple gain right here, right? And there's your decibel gain right there. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.